Gadge, mate, what are you doing?
Staying hydrated, Tom. We've got a video to do.
With Monster?
Yeah, it keeps you going all day. It's what I use in airsoft skirmish every time. I can't see anything wrong with it. Might not be true.
So Gadge is making the standard cardinal mistake we see at a lot of games, skirmishers, weekenders, milsims, whatever you want to call them, and that's going for your heavily caffeinated drink straight away.
So first thing you're going to do when you get to that site, you're tired, aren't you? So you're thinking like, oh, I'll have an energy drink, I'll have a coffee, or even just a full fat Coke. And people load themselves up on sugar and caffeine 9 in the morning. And by about lunchtime they crash, and that's when the arguments start, I always find.
Yep, no, luckily that one is a 0 sugar.
It is, yeah.
So it's not going to be quite as bad. Well, there's probably quite a lot of caffeine in there, but not the end of the world. So what we're going to talk about today is kind of staying hydrated, looking after yourself at an airsoft game, and then we'll move into stuff to carry your water, hydration fluids and everything else with you in a more practical sense. So basically, one of the biggest things we see going wrong at any old game is just people not drinking enough.
Yeah.
And that kind of contributes to what we always call about the 2 o'clock blues, where most airsoft sites, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people getting a bit tired, they're having a sugar crash, or they're getting really thirsty and they start getting really kind of hangry and start shouting at each other. No matter the site we've been to, generally 2, 3 o'clock there's always a bit of a kind of a lull.
By the time they're feeling thirsty, they're already dehydrated because they haven't been topping up with fluids throughout the day.
So, how much fluid should you drink? And what should you drink? If you look into the kind of sporting studies that have been done, there's a couple of competing theories. Some of them generally want you to drink a certain amount an hour, so they might say 500 ml, a litre an hour. Some of them will say drink to thirst. But drinking to thirst tends to mean you need to be a bit more in tune with your body and understand what's going on with it. And not that many people are. If you've done a lot of sport in the past, you'll tend to be a bit more in tune with how you're feeling and if you're thirsty or if you're hungry. A lot of people associate thirst actually with hunger, and they start eating before they get on the fluids.
I know when I was a reservist, we got issued 2 2-pint water bottles, these ones in fact, and that was supposed to be all you needed for cooking, drinking, washing, shaving a day. In reality, you'd use a lot more. You'd get topped up from big water gallon, big jerry cans full of water on a regular basis. But I think that was the minimum they thought you could get away with 2 of those as an active soldiering thing,
Sort of survival.
Yeah.
So, and obviously it will vary enormously on the temperature and what level of activity you're doing. If I'm out cycling in hot weather, I will go through about 800 to a litre of water an hour. However, that's kind of constant activity. It's very rare in airsoft we're actually moving around that much.
It's more short bursts, isn't it, with a lot of waiting around in between.
However, if you do have some downtime, it's well worth doing a little and often option. So just get in the habit of when you come back, if you're at a skirmish, you come back from a game, getting some water in, even just a couple of plugs. If you're respawning at a game and you've been working a bit and you're starting to sweat, get some water in. On a longer game, you might need to carry some with you on your kit, and we'll go through that in just a moment. So if I'm at a weekender, I will tend to give myself somewhere between 4 to 6 litres a day back at camp, and I'll refill my...
Yeah, you keep them in the big sort of supermarket, sort of pop bottle type bottles of water. You're not talking about having a big jerry can with you, are you? It's literally just water you get over the counter.
You can, but obviously that's now. Now we're moving on to trying not to have single-use plastics. If you look at some of the camping solutions, Gadge, you can get sterile plastic containers for water. You've obviously just filled them from your kitchen tap before you head out.
I've got some collapsible ones at home I have for emergencies.
Might well be worth doing that. Or if you do use those over-the-counter 5-10 litre jugs from any supermarket, you take them home with you and you can refill. You can sterilise them and then take them back out with you again. But rather than buying endless packs of 2 litres of water or 500 ml water bottles, it's well worth buying the big 5 litre jugs or 10 litre jugs you can get over the counter. And if not, yeah, a good freshwater drinking container you can get from a camping store, well worth taking. And then you can just keep using that continuously. But obviously you're not going to lug around a 10 litre jerry can right into the field in your backpack the whole time.
Not even the most hardcore milsim will make you bring the amount of water you'd need to actually do operations, you know.
So caffeine is not such a bad thing. Obviously keep you motivated, keep you going. You will tend to excrete, so you'll tend to lose 1 milliliter of water per milligram of caffeine that you take on. So something like the monster that Gadge is having, how much caffeine has it got?
It has all of the caffeine. No, let's have a look. Not a clip to this, but
so you're looking at 150. So this can of Monster has 150 milligrams of caffeine in it. It's about the same as a decent double espresso. So if you're a coffee lover, don't think you're not drinking a load of caffeine. However, 150 millilitres of that will pretty much come straight out of you. So you're only going to get the benefit of 350 mils worth of that fluid.
Because obviously caffeine makes you go for a wee more often, so you're going to lose more fluids. It's also worth noting as well that in airsoft you shout quite a lot and you talk quite a lot, and the more you're breathing in your mouth, you actually get dehydrated doing that, believe it or not.
So there you go. So caffeinated drinks, not maybe as bad as some people think, but you will excrete some of the water that you take in anyway because of the caffeine in it. If you go onto a sugary drink, again, it's not the end of the world. It's just once you start on fast-acting, fast-absorbing sugars, you kind of need to just keep taking them. So if you start on a sugary drink at the beginning of the day, your body's going to get really excited. It's going to rev up. All your systems are going to start accelerating. If you don't keep feeding it sugar, you will have a sugar crash. And again, that's a really common thing to happen in airsoft.
I love that bit in 28 Days Later when the guy's been in hospital and all he drinks is Coke from vending machines and lemonades, and then they're running from zombies, and he just gets amazingly fatigued because all he's been doing for the previous hour, which to quench his thirst, was just drinking like soft drinks with loads of sugar in it.
Okay, so it's very difficult to recommend how much you should drink. As we said, it depends on temperature, what you're up to. I think just be really aware of how you're feeling, how much you're sweating, and if you get a chance, just have a drink. Don't overload yourself, but just have a little drink and keep topped up throughout the day. Don't forget about it, particularly if you're at a battle sim or a mil sim or a long weekender. You really need to do it, particularly on day 2 or day 3 when you might be starting to get really dehydrated. If you can pretty much mug through it for a day, towards the back end of the day you may end up with a headache, and it's really hard once you are properly dehydrated to get out of that hole.
So also you'll find a lot of weekend events, even if they're not a full mil sim, there'll be a social on the Saturday night or the Friday night, and you'll have a few beers with your mates, and that will make you more dehydrated in the morning. It's obvious, a lot of people, everybody knows that drinking makes you go home, but you can forget when you're airsoft that actually you've not taken on any real fluids for like the last 12, 13 hours. You wake up in the morning, bit of a hangover, and then you start running around again.
Yeah, get yourself in the right state, and that's a big cause of people dropping out, is dehydration, and potentially hangovers leading to dehydration as well. And you just have a thoroughly miserable time. So keep hydrated, keep on top of it. Right, so you don't just have to drink water. Gadge is holding something really useful, which is kind of hydration tabs or electrolyte tablets.
And I find that, especially the second or even third day of a big event, you're struggling, even if you're taking on lots of water, your body isn't absorbing as much as it could be, whereas popping one of these in, it filters right, gives you a nice taste to your drink, and it lets you just absorb a little bit more of those fluids that you really need to keep going and performing. They're also great if you've got a hangover.
Something Gadge brings up really interesting is also taste. I struggle with drinking just water a lot, so I will tend to use squash or one of those little Robinson's flavour squirters. However, something to point out is don't put any flavour or sugary stuff or squash into your primary water bottle. Mix that elsewhere, because once that gets tainted, it's going to taste of blackberries forever. And if you try and make coffee with it, blackberry flavoured coffee or April or whatever flavour you've had isn't really the best.
Also, if you had an injury and you were unconscious, I didn't know, and I know what to rinse your wound with water. I don't want you rinsing it with lemon squash.
So what you makes a very good point. Or you get something in your eye and someone's trying to squirt, Well,
weirdly enough, I mean, you have to take these things with a pinch of salt. But in Andy McNab's books, he says that one water bottle was always pure water. The other one was like the British Army lemon screech drink, we used to call it, like the lemon powder that make you like that. But for me, I always thought that was a little bit dodgy, because there might be times when you need water. Rather than, you can always put the drink in your mug. That's fine, in your mug.
Make it up and drink
it. But if it's in your bottle, sure, it's easy to get that nice hit of lemony, refreshing taste. But if you're absolutely ever in the shit and all you've got is lemon squash, and you need to wash out a wound, or you need to cook the rabbit you've skinned or whatever.
So that's where it may well be worth having a juice bottle. So you've got your actual water bottles in your kit are always got plain water in, nothing else. You might have a juice bottle back at camp, that you can mix your flavoured drink in, or use your mug and then wash it out. But yeah, I wouldn't go leaving anything in that. What we'll move on to now is ways of carrying that water or fluids or electrolyte drink around with you. So we've got a variety of different things with us. Probably start off with one of the things people tend to recommend quite a lot, which is a CAMELBACK. This isn't an official CAMELBACK or hydration bladder. This is a hodgepodge of bits of kit I've had over the years. I tend to use this more for mountain biking Gadge than anything else. Now, I'm not really a fan of CAMELBACKs.
Well, they were new in Gucci around 2003. I remember the Army issued them for Iraq, and they're actually just a US issue ones. We didn't have one in the British inventory. And people like them, but you have to maintain them, you have to sterilise them, you have to keep that hose clean because they get ganky. I've even seen some absolute crazy people who've gone, oh, my CAMELBACK smells really funny, why? Oh, I've been putting Lucozade Sport in it. Have you washed it at all? Oh no, I just put Lucozade Sport in every week. And you're like, that's why, mate. It's probably a bacteria gold mine in there at the moment.
The main problem I have with them, and it's not really a fault of CAMELBACKs, I just forget to drink.
Yeah.
I know it sounds ridiculous because it's just, because the hose is just sitting there. Or if I do, I just have a, and that's not really enough. One of the things I do find them quite useful for is actually holding water. So
I use them as a water reservoir.
So this is there's a 3 litre bladder in there, and it's just it's more useful for me as a water reservoir than it is anything else. So just for setting up camp, or if we're going off to a fob or something, you just hold quite a lot of water in there. And actually that's what the British Army ended up doing with them, is the guys used to take these out on patrol and then fill their actual water bottles from them. And the other reason the British Army didn't really get on with them that well, correct me if I'm wrong, I know there's some servicemen, is the guys in charge of the section couldn't see how much their guys were drinking.
I can understand that.
Whereas they know, stop, finish your water bottle. They know exactly how much their guys have been drinking. With CAMELBACK, it's really difficult to tell, and you have to go around like prodding everyone's bladder.
The other thing I find in airsoft is because when you've got 3 litres of water in there, it makes my load distribution very back heavy. So in real life, your ammunition weighs quite a lot. So there's not that much of a disparity between your front and back. But all of a sudden, with the CAMELBACK on, I've got a lot more weight on my back than my front, and it just feels weird for me. I personally prefer to have something on my hip I can grab when I need it.
Now, if I've got a plate carrier on all day, I might do it, because normally I'll wear a belt kit or a chest rig, and it's much easier to carry a water bottle. If I'm wearing a plate carrier all day, maybe we're in an urban site, I might put a hydration bladder in the back of the plate carrier, because that way I'm not carrying around additional water, particularly away from the fob. So really, for me, the use case for a CAMELBACK, and you may differ, is taking in a source of water to a fob, so I've got 3 litres extra with me, or if I've got a plate carrier on and I'm running around an urban site and I need a source of water with me. Otherwise, I really don't actually get on with them that well.
I used to use them at one point, as everyone did, and then again, like you, I got to the point of going, do you know what, that first sip of water I have is always tepid, and it makes my back sweat, and my weight distribution's all over the place, and I stopped using it and didn't miss it.
Yeah, I had one on for a while and really very quickly stopped. So if you're not going to carry your water in a CAMELBACK and sip on a hose, let's look at some other options. Maybe start with some more civilian ones before we go for the kind of more obvious solutions. Yeah. So we've got, well, you see these things everywhere, don't you, Gadge?
Yeah.
These like metal thermo bottles.
Now I tend to use, I've got 2 of those in my sort of camping outdoors kind of bag, and they're usually what I keep my sort of washing and cleaning water and cooking water in with, really. And I have one in each of the side pockets because they're really robust, and if I throw my bag down, I'm not going to puncture it and get water all over my kit. They're not that heavy because they're quite light aluminium. Yeah. So for me, they're ideal for that everyday water. But again, I don't know how much I've got in there till I pick it up and shake it, because you can't see through it. Yeah. And they're not the easiest things to clean if they did get manky because of the way the neck goes. Yeah,
I mean, one thing about them, they're not going to fit in many pouches.
No, so it's a bit tall.
So it's something you'd have back at the safe zone or in camp.
It's my day sack bottle, really, to be honest.
But really, it's, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I think the point...
But they're cheap, they're accessible, they're sturdy.
Yeah.
So this option, though, I find a lot more, which is a little bit like a CAMELBACK, but it is actually a CAMELBACK we mentioned earlier. So you've got that bite valve, so you're not going to spill it anywhere. I actually use this when I go rock climbing, because I know exactly what I've drank and what I've got left.
Yeah, you can see it.
It's very, very lightweight. You can clip it onto things. Again, it's a bit big for a pouch.
Yeah.
And it's plastic, but it's a fairly rugged plastic.
Struggle to break those.
Yeah, I mean, so I've climbed with that for years. I've never broke it at all.
There's another alternative called an Nalgene bottle, which I've got a metal version of, and they're very similar, and they're pretty much indestructible. They're just a bit fatter. I'll have to put a picture or 2 in of those. They're pretty useful. Again, they're a little bit too big for a pouch. People are starting to make pouches for them. Yeah. Which is, so maybe not into kind of standard webbing pouches, though there are now pouches coming out to fit an Nalgene bottle. They're about this tall but a bit fatter.
But that's my day-to-day water bottles. Again, it fits in a car's drinking compartment as well. Yep. So that's my civvy camping option, really. It's not that military. It's great for outdoor sports.
Yeah, if that's all you've got, it's great, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it works. You know.
This is a kind of more bushcraft alternative. So this is, we said, a Nalgene bottle.
Yeah.
This is the same dimensions, but is made of metal. And the reason it's made of metal is for bushcraft or outdoors. You can heat this over a fire.
In an emergency, you can heat from it.
Emergency, you can take the plastic cap off and stick it over a fire. It's also, you know, stainless steel, completely robust
and lightweight.
Lightweight. Yeah, these are slightly too big, though I can get them in my webbing pouches.
Probably fit in a utility pouch.
Yeah,
just about.
We'll show you later. I really like these. They're not cheap though for a good one, but they're really good. They're really wide mouth, super easy to clean. You can get a cleaning brush in there. Yeah. You can see how, you know, it's quite easy to see how much water you've had. They're not, they're good quality, not going to leak. And if you need to, you can heat them over a fire.
Yeah.
To heat up some water.
Which was a really big consideration in water bottles for a long time. I mean, most modern military water bottles now are plastic, but they used to be metal for exactly that reason.
So this also comes with, conveniently, it's quite nice as these stack really well.
A little cooking pot.
So you've got a little cooker.
Yeah.
You can either put a hexi block or a gel block, or you can use it as a little twig stove. You can put your little cooking pot or your coffee pot over the top, and this all stacks. So these are a nice solution.
Mosquito.
And again, these are Nalgene size, so there's starting to be pouches for these because people like them.
Yeah.
Nalgene bottles are pretty standard. You can get a little lid for the cup, so they're pretty useful. But again, I'd probably have this in camp. It's just a bit too big. We're getting attacked by insects. So that's a nice option, or the plastic alternative, which is the Nalgene bottle.
And then that looks like one of your cycling bottles there.
So yeah, I do a bit of cycling. So these aren't the most robust things in the world, but they are really lightweight.
Yeah.
And again, you can see exactly.
If you fall on it, you're not going to hurt yourself.
No, you need, this one's quite good. I like this one because it's got a really big fat mouth. Yeah. So you used to get your drinks powder. If you're drinking electrolyte powder or sports drink powder, you can get it in really easily. Or you can, if I'm going out in the summer, I can chuck ice in. Which is quite nice. And then it has a scale, so you can see exactly.
It's also easier to clean when you have been drinking powder drinks and now you need to scrub it out to put something else in.
Yeah, and this goes straight in the dishwasher, which is really useful. And it gets clean, as well. These are super cheap. Again, not maybe great for your pouches, but for some kit, these work out really well. Pretty secure. But mainly, I think my advantage of these really is you can get them anywhere and they're pretty cheap. And you know exactly how much you've drunk. And then on to military solutions.
Which are dirt cheap again. So 58 pattern water bottle, again, been in service since 58. That's a Vietnam War era style one. It's a more modern one with the NBC hole in the top. You'll never need that.
You can still buy these really cheap as
again, well. These sort of shaped to go around the hip sort of water bottles that are plastic. They're screw top. Great, hold a fair amount of water with them. Dead cheap, really rugged. Only disadvantage is if you were camping like bushcrafting, you can't heat them. But again, airsoft, you're never going to need that.
No.
Those you can get copies of them for about £1.99,
yeah,
I think.
really cheap.
You know, and they'll fit in an average utility pouch.
I use these quite a lot. So British Army ones. You don't have to buy surplus. You can just buy.
I'm new, yeah.
You can just buy completely new. So advantage, they're really tough. They're not, and they fit in your webbing or your pouches. You know, they fit in a military pouch because military pouches are made for them.
They also come with a mug. It's worth pointing out. I don't use the mug. I use a metal mug so I can heat it, but a plastic mug comes as a top for that.
They're really useful. Disadvantages: you can't really see how much you've drunk. It doesn't really bother me. I tend to neck the whole thing in one go and be done with it. Yeah. So if I'm going to have a drink, I'll have a drink.
Also, with those, with time, the seals tend to go. So if you look, I'll put some PTFE tape around the inside of there because it used to leak like a bugger.
I'll just buy a new one, you lazy sod.
It's a favourite. I've had it for years.
So personally, I really like this 58 or Osprey pattern. The Osprey is slightly bigger. These British Army water bottles, partly because I use British Army kit a lot. They just work for me. And as I say, I will tend to either have a mug full of water or drink the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's either half or a whole bottle. If I'm going to drink, I'll drink, and then I know I've had a whole bottle. And they're also cheap and super robust. So my preferred option would be the British Army.
These are easier to get, I think, because every camping store sells these, whereas you'll need a real surplus store for those.
Yep.
I think these have a more robust clip onto there. Quite often with the 58 ones, this little loop that holds the top on can get snapped and broken quite easily. Less likely to happen with these, it's a bit chunkier, but again, it's personal preference.
Right. And I'll just show you what I do with my one.
With a mug.
With a mug. So this is out of my webbing, which we're going to film in a minute for another episode. And this is what I would take pretty much anywhere with me. If I'm at a skirmish day, I don't tend to worry about it because you don't need it out. But if I'm out in the field or I want to look a bit wary because we're trying to stay themed, I'll take one of these. So that's the water bottle we've got there. I've got paracord on it, on a dangle. I've got paracord handle, and that's so if I reach into a pouch behind me, I can just get it out. It's a bit of green tape. Again, it looks wary. The other thing is I've got my name on it, and when you're at an event and everybody has got a black water bottle that's basically identical, pretty useful to have your name on. And then following on from the, and this is completely pointless, following on from the advice of Smudge and the now sadly defunct Military Kit Review channel, I've got some steri tabs duct taped to the bottom, because, you know, completely pointless, but there you go. But these also come with this mug, which is nice and handy for brewing up. And that fits in really nicely. And there you go. So as I say, you can either have a mug full of water or a whole bottle, and you're done. And again, I've got my name on my mug, because again, when you're at an event and there's 17 mugs of brown liquid lying around, you want to make sure you drink the right
also,
one.
if you cadets out there, it stops someone nicking your kit.
So that works out really well for me. So there's a few options for you. Let us know what you do in the comments. We're always interested in hearing what your solutions are. So thanks for watching this episode of AATV. I've been your host, Tom Anvil Hibberd, and I'm here with
Gareth, Gadge, Harvey.
Thanks for watching. Please, if you want to help support the channel, you can join our Patreon, buy one of our fantastic t-shirts. Most importantly, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.